What up, guys? It's Dom, and welcome back to another movie review. Today we are going over and ranking Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil, released in 2024, written and directed by James Watkins. A family is invited to spend a whole weekend in a lonely home in the countryside, but as the weekend progresses, they realize that a dark side lies within the family who invited them. Let's get right into the 10 essential aspects of a movie. The first essential aspect is plot. So I really like the plot of this movie, even though it's a very common plot to have with a lot of thriller movies of the main characters, for some reason, trusting the people that they just met and meeting them at some location, and then they're surprised when terrible stuff starts happening. Now, I've seen that a lot, and there's some movies that have done that really well, and some movies that have done that very poorly. But this movie has done that very, very well. I thought the plot actually, probably because of the acting, all the actors did a good job of really convincing me of this plot, especially James McAvoy, but I don't know, I just was really just pulled into the movie and I didn't want to stop watching at all. I thought it was very interesting. I almost, I was laughing, I was telling my buddy about this, I was actually almost falling for the same trap that the main characters were. Just because of how good James McAvoy's acting was, I almost was like, sure, yeah, I'll stop by for a week and I'll do that. Like, I caught myself afterwards like, wow, I am just absolutely just dumb for that. But that's how good his acting was, and that's how good the plot was, because it actually pulled me into the movie to the point where if I was in that movie, I'd probably be in the same situation. The second essential aspect is attraction. Now, was this movie entertaining? Yes, but that wasn't obviously its main goal. It's a thriller. It's meant to scare you, to make you feel things, and it definitely made me feel things. I thought that the small attention to detail was really, really good in this movie. I loved that there was a scene where there's something happening in the background that you could completely miss, but because I didn't miss it, it added to the movie. It completely added to the movie. And the movie still would have been good without these little things, but because I realized that they're there, makes me think, okay, if I rewatch this movie, is there going to be more things I notice, or is it just going to be just that one thing? I think that there was a decent amount. I noticed that one, and that made the scene elevate for me. So I love when movies add that. I love the small attention to detail. It shows how much effort they really put into this movie, into all the scenes and into the actual script. I think it's awesome. The third essential aspect is theme. So I think the main theme of this movie is naiveness. I don't know if that's a word. I'm gonna roll with it. I think the main theme was obviously that the main characters just were very naive. They kept letting the bad guys do bad things. They had so many outs, but they just kept coming back in. Now, I get that that's how you're going to make the plot work, because if the characters aren't coming back to the bad guys, then you're not really get to see the bad guys anymore, so the whole just story ends. So they had to keep showing that. But at the same time, how are you that stupid? If you leave something behind and you know it's a dangerous situation, why are you going back? And I feel like that has to be the theme, because that happens a lot in real life too. Because in real life, you can be very naive about things, especially when it comes to strangers. So, I don't know, I feel like it's just really, the movie was just screaming at people to stop being as naive as you are. Because people are naive. Unless you've experienced it, you're not going to think about it in the moment. So, the movie was really just trying to tell us to stop being so stupid. And Patty, the main bad guy, I'll say, even though he's not really like the bad guy, but we'll just say the bad guy. Patty even told the main character, after he asked him, why are you doing this? Patty said, because you let me. And it's true. They had so many outs, and they still kept coming back in because they were naive. So I thought the movie had a really, really strong message, and it definitely made the movie even better. The fourth essential aspect is dialogue. Now, I thought the dialogue was really good in this movie, because so not all of the dialogue was good, but there was no bad dialogue, that is a big plus, because a lot of movies, even if they have great dialogue, could have some kind of useless pieces of dialogue. But I feel like all of the dialogue in this movie actually felt real. All the conversations felt like real conversations to a point. Of course, there was some not as realistic, but it was still fine. It wasn't a bad dialogue. It was still good. But obviously, James McAvoy, who played Patty, he was the main guy. He was the best actor by far. he delivered all his lines to perfection. He's really who made this movie this good. If he wasn't in it, it would be a completely different story. But the dialogue that he had and the lines he was given, he rocked it perfectly. I thought it was I could not imagine anyone else doing that role. So the dialogue I thought was awesome, mainly because of James McAvoy, but overall everyone did a pretty good job. The fifth essential aspect is acting. So obviously, like I just said in dialogue, James McAvoy as Patty, he was the main guy. He knew what he was doing. He played the character perfectly to a T. I loved him in this role. And it didn't surprise me because once I knew that he was the star in this movie, I knew it'd be a good movie. Because he's done so many thrillers and just made the movie good because he was the main role. Because that's how good of an actor he is. He's an amazing actor. He's definitely up there for me and my favorite actors because he knows how to do it well. And he has been in so many different genres as well. Not just thrillers, but superhero movies, love stories. So he knows what to do in any situation. And I think that helped a lot in this movie because there was a lot of scenes where, sure, he had to be kind of a scary guy, but there was a lot of scenes where he had to be the nice guy. And it really fooled me, to be honest. For the first half of this movie, I forgot that the whole plot of this was that he was supposed to be the bad guy. Because he sounded so nice, he drew me into the movie. So, of course, there was other good actors in here, but he is the main one I wanted to talk about because he made the movie what it is. The sixth essential aspect is cinematography. So when I talk about cinematography, obviously I'm going to look at the emotions and the visuals. So I'll start off with the visuals. I mean, they were awesome. I thought all the scenes looked good. I thought that was really cool. The area that they were in was really interesting and beautiful for a lot of the parts, especially at the beginning with Italy. And then when they were going in to stay for the weekend at Patty's house, like the woods and everything, I thought it all looked good. Now, when it came to emotions, it did get me because I was sad in some points. I was beyond pissed at some other points as well. And actually, I'll talk about that now. There was one scene at the end where it was very, very obvious that they had to do one thing and they just did the other thing. And that bothered me. And I know that they were trying to make these main characters kind of dumbed down so that the plot worked. And so that the message could be more directed towards us. But yeah, I was fuming at some of the points. But when it came to actually being scared, now it wasn't the same kind of scare like a jump scare or like some monsters or anything like a horror movie. But what did get me scared was I was scared for the characters because of how convincing James McAvoy was. It got me worried for the main characters, which honestly I haven't felt that in a while. I haven't actually felt fear for the characters. Usually I feel fear because I'm just scared because the movie is scary. So I thought that was good and great cinematography. The seventh essential aspect is editing. So Speak No Evil is an hour and 15 minutes long, and I think that's a pretty good length. I mean, it had enough time to develop into the point where it can actually end properly. And it wasn't so long that it kind of dragged some of the scenes out and really made it kind of unwatchable. So I think they chose a pretty good length. It even could have been a little longer, but I thought it was pretty good. The eighth essential aspect is soundtrack. Now I don't really remember the soundtrack because I had a lot of mic and camera problems and I couldn't record this right after I watched it. I watched it, I think almost like 4 days ago now, 5 days ago. So the soundtrack definitely is the first thing to go in that situation. But yeah, I don't remember the soundtrack much, but I do remember that the scenes had like a nice ambiance to it when it needed to. So I'll say the soundtrack was okay, but definitely not memorable. The ninth essential aspect is directing. So the director of this movie is James Watkins, and it was his job to take these previous 8 essential aspects, put them together to make a movie that's worth watching. Obviously, based off this review, 100% he made a movie that's worth watching. I loved the movie. I'm probably going to rewatch it again, especially when I want to watch a really good thriller. This would be one of my go-to movies. So he definitely made a movie worth watching. And previously he directed 3 movies, and they were Eden Lake, The Woman in Black, and The Take. And I've never watched any of those movies. I'm not even sure what they were rated as. But because this movie was so good, maybe I should go back and watch some of them. Maybe this movie was only this good because they already had the main puzzle piece of the movie that released in 2022 under the same name. But I don't know. He just did so well that I kind of want to watch his other movies. And the 10th essential aspect is time. Will Speak No Evil stand the test of time? I think it does. In my opinion, I definitely think it does, but I don't know about everyone else. Now, I think that this is definitely a really good thriller. Definitely the best movie we've had for a while. I feel like we've had a lot of bad movies lately, and there's only been a few recently that actually raise the bar, which is good. But maybe that is just me watching good movies in theaters that really put this so high up. So I do want to say it stands the test of time, but I might not be 100% sure. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, onto the reviews. So honestly, the reviews are right where I thought it was going to be. So Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it an 83%, Rotten Tomatoes audience gave it an 85%, and IMDb gave it a 72%. Now, I do believe that this movie does belong in the 80s, so I'm just going to remove that 72% for now. I understand why they did it, because this movie might not be for everyone, but I personally thought it was definitely for me. And it definitely belongs in the 80s, so I agree with both Rotten Tomatoes critics and Rotten Tomatoes audience. For me, it's probably high 80s. It is definitely high up there. Maybe I could even be swayed to 90s, I don't know. But either way, for now, I'm just going to be at 80s. So I think that they did a pretty good job reviewing it. I mean, they put it right on the money of where I thought they would put it. And the movie definitely deserves it. And finally, the rankings. Where will Speak No Evil rank in its year, decade, and in all time? Let's starting in 2024. It's going to be first, above Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, this was harder for me because I am such a Marvel guy, but Speak No Evil is just the better movie. Now, I have to admit that, obviously, because the one thing Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't have is plot. Now, it's still a good plot, and for me that knows Marvel in and out, I think the plot is actually better than everyone is saying, because there is some smaller pieces that I can piece together based off of all the other movies and based off of just me knowing the characters so well. But when it comes to general audience, it's not going to be as strong. So obviously, this plot meets a lot greater scheme of audiences, and it makes more sense. And it's just a better plot, I feel like. So it's clearly better, even though I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm sorry, I have to put it above it. And in the 2020s, it's going to be the same exact situation. It's going to be first above Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'm not even going to talk about it anymore because I just did. And now in all time, it's going to be fifth, above Logan and below X-Men Days of Future Past. Now, it's above Logan, but not by far. Both of them have amazing plots, have great acting. I just feel like the concept in Speak No Evil, I just found myself enjoying that a little more and the amount of emotions it brought out for me. Now, the end of Logan, I bawled my eyes out. I got really, really emotional. I just feel like I wasn't as invested throughout the middle part of the movie as I was throughout the whole part of Speak No Evil. I thought Speak No Evil definitely banged cinematography out of the park, and at least for the majority of the plot. I feel like the ending definitely is better in Logan, but that's why it's close, because it was really hard to pick. But I had to put Speak No Evil over it. And it's below X-Men Days of Future Past because I might be biased here, but X-Men Days of Future Past is so good. I loved the plot. I loved the amount of characters there were, especially since they did a good job developing all these characters, even though we've already known them. So that how can you even develop more? But they did. And I just loved actually traveling back and seeing younger versions of these same characters that you've already known for so many movies, and seeing actually like memorable points in history, but in a Marvel movie. I just loved the plot of it. I loved the characters, and of course I'm a Marvel guy, so I have some bias, but I really can't look away at this point because I love the movie. So even though it is not by much, it is going to be above Speak No Evil. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm sorry it took me so long to upload it. I had so many issues with cables and getting a new phone and just mic and everything. So I hope it was worth the wait. If you guys enjoyed this review, leave a like and subscribe, and make sure to comment what movie you want me to review next. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Is it as good as I'm hyping it up to be? Should I have put it somewhere else in the list? Even though it's not your choice, it's mine, but still, where would you have put it in my list? And I hope you guys have an amazing day. Peace out.